guys, what's going on? It is Shard, GVRP here, back again with a new video on this channel. So today guys, I am actually going to be going through some unappreciated features in Greenville. Now for those of you who don't know what I mean by unappreciated features, I kind of mean like features that don't get like enough attention in the game, I guess, or features that just don't, like, that are just super underrated and people kind of just take for granted, I guess. And that's kind of what I'm going to be going through today. So yeah, some of these things aren't really features, they're just things in the game, except like, yeah, I'm going to be going through some of them today. And yeah, so the first one that I have here, guys, is AEB. So AEB is honestly one of the best things that Greenville has ever done, and I mean, honestly, they could have probably done without adding it, except it's so like much more realistic, I guess, than having no AEB, because like there's like barely any other games on Roblox, or at least driving games, that have AEB from my knowledge. So like the fact that Greenville has actually implemented it and made it at least somewhat good is quite cool to me. Obviously there are some like downsides to it, like it can be a little bit annoying sometimes, and I feel like that's the main reason why a lot of people take it for granted, I guess, and kind of get mad at it. Like, I know for a fact that a lot of people just like turn it off, and for those of you who don't know how to do that, you just press U on your keyboard. And I know that a lot of people just do that because it can get a bit annoying sometimes, but honestly, for realism purposes and when you're like role playing and stuff, it's honestly a very, very good feature, and I would definitely recommend using it if your car supports it. But I do also understand that on some cars as well, AEB doesn't really function correctly, but to be honest, that's not really that big of a deal. I mean, it's a Roblox, you can't really get it perfect, so the way how they've done it right now is honestly really, really good in my opinion, and I feel like a lot more people should, like, you know, start paying more attention to it, I guess, and actually, you know, start using it more and testing it out. So yeah, now the next feature is a huge one. So this is actually cruise control. So if those of you who don't know how to activate cruise control, you basically just go to the bottom left of your gauges and you just click this, and then it will basically stick you onto the speed that you're currently on. Or you can literally just press this up arrow and it will basically just stick you to those speeds right there. So obviously I'm in a Tesla Roadster, so it's extremely snappy when it's going up to the different speeds. But yeah, and I feel like this feature is so underrated because in so many roleplay servers, I see people going way over the speed limit and basically pretty much FRPing with their speeds. And then they complain that, like, oh, it's hard for them to control the speed and stuff like that, even though you can literally just turn on cruise control and then boom, there you go, you're literally stuck on the speed limit, no problem at all. So I feel like this is an extremely underrated feature, and I'm sure a lot of you guys could agree with me on this one, because so many people just don't use it even though it's there. And I feel like if people actually use this feature, then like then the amount of like speed FRP in roleplay servers would be so much lower than it currently is if people actually paid attention to cruise control. And honestly, I think this is a great feature, and I honestly think more people should start using it and paying more attention to it, because it makes it so much easier to, like, you know, drive around and stay at the speed limit. But one tip I would give, though, is basically when you activate cruise control, so let's say I put it on 55 miles per hour right now, as you guys can see, it's all good, but then as soon as I hit brakes, then it turns off the cruise control and I have to do it again. I do find that quite annoying sometimes, and I feel like that's a lot of the reason why people don't use it as much, because you always have to activate it and stuff like that, and it can get quite annoying at times. So I really do wish that the Greenville devs possibly added something in. So for example, let's say I have it at like 55 miles per hour, and then I press brakes, then the cruise control stays on, but my car still slows down. But as soon as I let go of my brakes, then the car starts speeding up again, back up to whatever you had it on. So with me, it would be 55 miles per hour, and it would basically just automatically go back up to that speed. And then if you did want to turn it off, then you could just click this button, and then you're good to go. So yeah, that's some tips for the devs right there. But yeah, so that's the second unappreciated feature in my opinion. Now the next feature is a bit of a weird one. It's it's about the more realistic gas mileage in the game. So for those of you who don't know, Greenville used to, ever since the revamp came out, they always used to have kind of like unrealistic mileage and stuff like that. Like your cars would barely run out of gas, and it would be very, very hard to make them run out of gas, compared to now after the recent update, where your car runs out of fuel much, much quicker now. And a lot of people get annoyed at this feature because they always have to constantly go to the gas station, and I can completely understand that, except it's so much more realistic and better, in my opinion, having to actually go to the gas station, because it kind of almost simulates real life. Like, your car won't last forever in real life with your gas and stuff like that. Like, you're eventually gonna have to fuel it up or charge it up, depending if it's electric or gasoline. But yeah, I feel like this is extremely, like, I wouldn't really call it underrated because it's not really like that, but except, like, I feel like people should, stop getting so annoyed at it because it's really realistic and really cool, in my opinion. And honestly, I've wanted Greenville to add realistic mileage since the revamp came out, so I find it really good that they've actually done it now. Also, another thing with the realistic mileage is that it actually prevents AFK grinders, so they can't just leave their PCs on all night anymore, and their fuel will still be like halfway, or still their car will still be driving. Your car will run out in in at least 2 hours maybe, or less if you do try AFK grinding, and also you'll probably get banned anyway, so yeah. So that's another good thing that comes out of the realistic mileage. Now the next thing I want to go into is the amount of non-Game Pass vehicles that are in Greenville. So I always get people complaining, well, not me necessarily, it's more or less the devs who get complaining of people saying that there's not enough cars for them to buy and they can't buy any Game Passes, and I can completely understand that, but that's not necessarily true at all. I feel like the only reason why people say that stuff is because that they want to buy all the, expensive supercars and stuff like that, but they can't because they don't have the Game Passes, and I can completely understand that. But in the long run of things, like, there's so much cars that don't require Game Passes. There's like over 100 plus cars that you don't need Game Passes for. But a lot of people still say that there's not enough vehicles, and I really just don't get it. Like if you guys, this car right here, this is a sports car, and it doesn't need a Game Pass. This is also a sports car, it doesn't need a Game Pass. And overall, like, there's so much cars that don't need Game Passes. Like, this needs a sports Game Pass, alright? But then this one doesn't. And there's also, I think, the Mustang EcoBoost as well, if I can find it, also doesn't need a Game Pass. And that is also pretty much considered a sports car. So if I can actually just find it here. So yeah, if we go here to the 2017 Falcon Stallion, if we go over to the EcoBoost trim, it actually doesn't require a Game Pass, and even though it may not be the fastest sports car in the game, of course it won't be because it's not even in the sports car section, but it is still technically a sports car, and it honestly is pretty cool. And so yeah, there's so much cool cars that you can buy without Game Passes. And I mean, even though there are also really cool cars that require Game Passes, you don't necessarily need any Game Passes to be able to drive around in cool cars. Now, the next feature I actually have that a lot of people take for granted and kind of don't really like a lot, from what I've seen, is the fact that cars get dirty. Now, there are definitely people who like this feature, but there's also, some other people who don't like this feature. And I can understand it, but again, it kind of ties into the same thing with the realistic mileage. It's a lot more realistic, and overall it gives you it's just a lot more realistic, and it gives you extra stuff to do in the game. Like, for example, let's go back to the gas thing. If your car runs out of gas, then you can go to the gas station, fill it up, and do an entire sort of RP thing there. And also, if your car gets dirty, then you can drive all the way to the car wash. Like, for example, let me just get this thing a bit dirty here. So as you guys can see, it's actually gathering dirt onto the car, which is really cool. Thing that I like about it is that it doesn't instantly start, or it doesn't do it too quick. It kind of takes time for the car to actually start getting dirty. So it's honestly pretty realistic. And yeah, so as you can see, my car's pretty dirty here. So if I just zoom over to the rapid wash over here, then you guys will be able to see that my car actually does end up cleaning itself. And the thing is that it doesn't even cost any money to clean your car either, and it also doesn't cost any money to fuel up your car either. So it's very affordable. Everyone can do it. It's not really that much of a hassle apart from actually having to drive there. But yeah, so if I just turn into here, so here we are at Rapid Wash. So as you can see, also the car washes actually have animations. So if I actually go inside of it, it actually has a washing animation, which is really, really cool in my opinion, and a lot of other games don't actually have that. I'm pretty sure ERLC now has it, but not many other games do from my knowledge. And yeah, so as you can see now, my car is pristine. It is super clean, and it costed me absolutely nothing. So it is honestly a really cool, realistic feature. Also, like, if you drive around in trucks usually, then it's really good for like off-roading roleplays. And no, Greenville is not the best game to do off-roading and stuff like that, but just for roleplay purposes, it would be a lot more realistic if your car actually gets dirty compared to it always being clean, even after literally like going on dirt roads and stuff like that. Now, the sixth and last unappreciated thing in Greenville, in my opinion, is the huge updates. So Greenville has massive updates whenever they do come out with them. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. Majority of Greenville's updates have been amazing. The only revamp update that I did not like at all was the update where they added like all the Tesla stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure it was like where they added the Plaid. I'm pretty sure they added the Cybertruck too, or that was another update, but they also added that, like, the older Tesla Roadster. That was the only update in the entire revamp that I did not like. Otherwise, every single update has been really, really good in my opinion. And for those of you who don't know, Greenville used to have a bi-weekly update schedule, so basically they would update their game every single 2 weeks. So obviously that is really good for us content creators, because we always have good video ideas for those times, because then we can make update videos. Except with the new update schedule, I guess they don't even really have a schedule anymore, but with the new ways how they do updates, they're a lot more surprising and also bigger every single time they do updates. And even though for me, for example, it can be a bit annoying sometimes because of the fact that, you know, sometimes they release them when I'm at school and stuff like that, and I can't really make videos at school. It's a bit hard to. It's honestly really good though, because the updates are a lot more bigger, a lot more interesting, and they also are a lot fun for a lot more longer than they would be if they were a lot smaller. And I honestly feel like so many people just take it for granted, or not even taking it for granted, they kind of just complain to the devs of how long it actually takes them to update the game, even though they're putting in so much work behind the scenes to make the update as good as possible and as refurbished as possible. And that's what I really like about Greenville. Back in GV3, the game never used to be really that refurbished and stuff like that, but now in GV3, the game is so refurbished and good, and yeah, it's honestly just great in my opinion. So yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, thank you guys so much for 2.5 thousand subscribers. That is absolutely insane to me. I cannot believe it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you later, and goodbye.